If you're taking saw Palmetto for prostate health or bedroom performance, I need you to stop for just 60 seconds and hear this. A 71-year-old patient of mine tried every supplement on the shelf, spent over $300, and nothing worked. Then he ate 2 specific nuts before bed for 9 days, and on day 10, his wife called me crying. Tears of joy. She said, "Whatever you told him to do, don't let him stop." These aren't the nuts you're thinking of. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 2, how much to eat, and why they work when everything else fails. Pine nuts. That's the first one. Most men think of them as something you sprinkle on salad, but here's what almost no one knows. Pine nuts contain the highest concentration of a rare amino acid called arginine. And arginine is the raw material your body uses to create nitric oxide. The molecule that opens your blood vessels and sends blood exactly where you need it most. As you age, your body produces less nitric oxide naturally. That's why erections become weaker, why you feel cold in your extremities, why your energy tanks by mid-afternoon. It's not about desire. Your mind wants it, but your circulation can't deliver. Pine nuts bypass that problem. Within 30 minutes of eating them, arginine starts converting into nitric oxide. That's why some men notice warmth, tingling, even firmness within hours of their first dose. My name is Dr. May Anderson. I've spent 25 years working exclusively with men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. Men who've been told their best years are behind them. I don't claim to know what it feels like to be a man struggling with performance issues, but I've listened to thousands of men describe it. The embarrassment. The avoidance. The fear that this part of life is just over. And I can tell you with absolute confidence, it doesn't have to be. Pine nuts are powerful, but they're only half the equation. The second nut is where things get interesting, and I'll tell you about it in just a moment. But first, you need to understand what's really happening when blood flow weakens. Because this isn't just about what happens in the bedroom. It's about your entire body sending you a warning signal that something deeper is going wrong. Poor circulation to the penis is often the first sign of poor circulation to the heart. Think about it. The blood vessels in the penis are smaller and more delicate than the ones in your heart. When they start to fail, it's like a canary in a coal mine. I've seen too many men ignore this, only to end up in the emergency room 2 years later with a heart attack or stroke. And it's not just your heart. Reduced blood flow means your brain isn't getting the oxygen it needs. Studies show men with erectile dysfunction are 70% more likely to develop dementia within 10 years. That's not a coincidence. Your blood vessels are connected. When one area fails, others follow. But there's something else that keeps me up at night. And it's not the medical complications. It's the emotional toll. I've had men sit in my office and tell me they avoid intimacy with their wife because the shame is unbearable. They stop initiating. They make excuses. I'm too tired. My back hurts. Let's just watch TV. And their partner starts to feel unwanted, unloved. That distance grows, and suddenly a 40-year marriage feels like living with a stranger. The silence becomes deafening. This isn't about vanity. It's about holding on to the man you've always been. The man who could show up for his partner. The man who felt confident in his own skin. Let me tell you about Thomas. He came to me at 68 and I'll never forget what he said. "Doc, I don't even recognize myself anymore." He'd tried medications, but the side effects were brutal. Headaches, dizziness, flushed face that made him look sick. His wife was supportive, but he could see the sadness in her eyes. They'd been married 42 years, and intimacy had just stopped. Not because they didn't love each other, but because his body wouldn't cooperate. He told me he'd started sleeping in the guest bedroom some nights because he couldn't bear the feeling of lying next to her, and knowing he couldn't be the husband he wanted to be. When I ran his blood work, his nitric oxide levels were in the basement. His circulation was so poor, his feet were always cold even in summer. He'd started wearing socks to bed year-round. I asked him if he'd ever tried pine nuts and tiger nuts together. He looked at me like I was joking. "Doc, I've tried everything. How are a couple of nuts going to help me?" But I explained the science, and he trusted me enough to try. 1 small handful of pine nuts with breakfast, and 2 tablespoons of tiger nut powder mixed into water before bed. That's it. No pills. No prescriptions. Just food. 9 days later, and I remember the exact number because he called me on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. He said, "Dr. May, something happened last night. I woke up with firmness I haven't felt in 5 years." His voice cracked. He said, "I thought that part of me was dead. I thought I'd never feel like a man again." But here's what made it even more powerful. 2 weeks after that, his wife sent me a handwritten note. It said, "Thank you for giving me my husband back. We're laughing again. We're touching again. We're close again. I didn't realize how much I missed him until I got him back." So let me tell you about tiger nuts, because that's where the real transformation happens. And I need you to understand something. Most doctors won't tell you about this because they're trained to prescribe medications, not food. There's no pharmaceutical company making billions off tiger nuts. But that doesn't mean they don't work. In fact, it's the opposite. Tiger nuts aren't actually nuts. They're small root vegetables, also called earth almonds or chufa. They've been eaten for thousands of years, dating back to ancient Egypt. And they contain something most men over 60 are critically deficient in: zinc and magnesium combined with a rare fiber called resistant starch. Here's why zinc matters so much. Zinc is the ignition switch for testosterone production. Without it, your body can't produce the hormones that drive desire, energy, or firmness. But here's the problem. As you age, your gut absorbs less zinc from food. Even if you eat steak or oysters every day, you're only getting a fraction of what you need. Your digestive enzymes decline. Your stomach acid weakens. And zinc just passes through your system without being absorbed. Tiger nuts solve that problem. The resistant starch in tiger nuts acts like a delivery system. It slows digestion and allows your body to absorb zinc more efficiently. It's like wrapping the zinc in a protective coating that ensures it gets where it needs to go. And when you take tiger nuts before bed, you're timing it perfectly. Your body's testosterone production peaks between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. That's when your pituitary gland sends signals to your testes to produce testosterone. When you put zinc in your system at night, you're fueling that natural surge right when your body needs it most. Pine nuts flood your bloodstream with arginine in the morning, which creates nitric oxide and opens your blood vessels. Tiger nuts at night restore the hormones that create desire and drive. Together, they work like a 1-2 punch: circulation in the morning, hormones at night. You're working with your body's natural rhythms, not against them. A study from the Journal of Andrology found that men who supplemented with arginine and zinc together saw a 42% improvement in erectile function within 6 weeks. But here's the key. Timing mattered. The men who took them at the right times, morning and night, saw results twice as fast as those who just took them randomly throughout the day. That's why Thomas felt changes in just 9 days instead of 6 weeks. Let me give you the exact protocol, because precision matters here. Every morning with breakfast, and this is important, with food that contains fat like eggs, avocado, olive oil, or even butter, eat 1 small handful of raw pine nuts. That's about 20 to 25 nuts, roughly 2 tablespoons. Don't roast them, don't salt them. Raw. The heat from roasting destroys some of the arginine. The salt can raise blood pressure, which works against what you're trying to accomplish. Chew them slowly. Let them mix with your food. And within 30 minutes your body starts producing nitric oxide. You might not feel anything dramatic right away, but if you pay attention, you might notice a subtle warmth in your hands and feet. That's the blood vessels opening up. That's circulation returning to areas that have been starved for oxygen. 2 hours before bed, mix 2 tablespoons of tiger nut powder. You can find this online or at health food stores, sometimes in the international food section. Into 8 ounces of water. Stir it well. It has a slightly sweet, nutty taste, almost like horchata if you've ever had that drink. Drink it down. Do not take it with dairy, coffee, or alcohol. Those block zinc absorption. Dairy contains calcium, which competes with zinc for absorption. Coffee contains compounds called tannins that bind to zinc and flush it out. Alcohol disrupts the whole absorption process. Plain water only. Here's what most men get wrong, and this is critical. They try this for 3 days, don't feel anything dramatic, and quit. They expect instant results like popping a blue pill. But this isn't medication. This is nutrition. Your body needs time to rebuild nitric oxide levels and restore hormone balance. Most men start noticing subtle changes within the first week: better energy in the morning, clearer thinking during the day, maybe warmer extremities. By week 2 to 3, the physical changes start. Stronger morning erections, better stamina during intimacy, more consistent firmness. Thomas felt it on day 9. Some men feel it sooner. Some take 3 weeks. But consistency is everything. If you skip days, you're resetting the process. Your body has to rebuild those nutrient levels from scratch. And here's something that amplifies the results: a 20-minute walk after dinner. Walking increases circulation naturally and primes your body to use the nutrients from the tiger nuts more efficiently. Thomas started doing this, and he told me it made a noticeable difference. He said, "Doc, on the nights I walk, I sleep better and wake up stronger." Thomas isn't the only one. After he told his friends about this, 3 of them became my patients. One was 73, hadn't had morning erections in over a decade. He'd accepted it as just part of aging. Within 4 weeks he said, "Doc, I'm waking up like I'm 50 again. My wife thinks I'm on some kind of secret medication." Another was 66, struggled with stamina. He told me, "I used to last maybe 2 minutes if I was lucky. Now I actually have control again. I can enjoy the moment instead of just rushing through it." These aren't miracles. This is what happens when you give your body what it's been starving for. And here's something interesting. Almost all of these men reported benefits beyond the bedroom. Better energy throughout the day. Sharper mental focus. Less brain fog. Even better mood. One man told me, "I didn't realize how depressed I'd become until I started feeling like myself again." I know some of you are thinking, "But I've tried zinc supplements before and didn't notice anything." Here's why. Synthetic zinc pills often aren't absorbed well, especially if you're over 60. Your digestive system slows down with age. The lining of your intestines becomes less efficient. Tiger nuts deliver zinc in a whole food form with resistant starch, which is like a delivery vehicle that ensures absorption. It's the difference between throwing seeds on concrete and planting them in rich soil. Another concern I hear: what if I'm already on medications? For most men, pine nuts and tiger nuts are completely safe alongside prescriptions. In fact, many medications like statins or blood pressure drugs can actually lower nitric oxide and testosterone, so adding these can help offset those effects. I've had patients on 5 or 6 medications who still saw benefits. Of course, you should check with your doctor, but in 25 years I've rarely seen a problem. The only exception might be if you're on blood thinners, because arginine can have mild blood thinning effects. But even then, the amounts in pine nuts are generally safe. Just let your doctor know what you're doing. And yes, you could try to get these nutrients from other foods. But here's the reality. You'd need to eat 6 servings of spinach and a pound of beef daily to match the arginine and zinc from this simple protocol. Plus, the bioavailability, how much your body actually absorbs, is lower from cooked foods. Most men over 60 just don't eat that way. This is concentrated, efficient, and it works. Let me tell you what happened with Thomas after 3 months. He came back for a follow-up, and I barely recognized him. He'd lost 12 pounds without trying. He was walking with his shoulders back, he was smiling, his eyes had light in them again. But the biggest change wasn't physical. He said, "Doc, my wife and I went on a weekend trip last month to this little bed and breakfast we used to go to when we were younger. We haven't done that in years. And we were intimate 3 times in 2 days. I felt like a newlywed. I felt like the man I used to be." His wife was with him at that appointment, and she squeezed his hand and looked at me with tears in her eyes. She said, "You gave me my marriage back." I didn't realize how much we'd both given up. How much distance had grown between us. Now we're holding hands again. We're kissing again. We're talking again. It's like we got a second chance. Gentlemen, that's what's at stake here. It's not just about performance. It's about reclaiming the man you've always been. The man who doesn't make excuses. The man who shows up for his partner. The man who refuses to let age define him. The man who still has desires and dreams and the ability to make them real. Thomas is 68, and he's thriving. If he can do it, so can you. But I need to be straight with you. If you ignore what you just learned, If you close this video and go back to taking saw Palmetto or doing nothing at all, here's what happens. Your circulation continues to decline, your testosterone keeps dropping, and the distance between you and your partner grows wider. The silence gets louder. The excuses pile up. And one day you wake up and realize you've spent years living as a shadow of who you used to be. I've seen too many men wait too long, and by the time they come to me, the damage is harder to reverse. The blood vessels are more damaged. The hormone levels are lower. It takes longer to turn things around. Don't let that be you. So here's what I want you to do right now. Subscribe to Vital Health Seniors. This channel is your resource. Real science, no gimmicks, designed specifically for men over 60. When you subscribe, you're telling me you're ready to take your health seriously. And I promise, I'll keep showing up with strategies that work. Not theories. Not trends. Just proven methods I've used with thousands of men over 25 years. Hit that like button and share this video with a friend, a brother, or someone in your life who's struggling. Because here's the truth. Most men suffer in silence. They're embarrassed. They think they're the only ones. They think it's just them failing. But when you share this, you're telling another man, you're not alone. There's a way forward. You don't have to accept this as your reality. That's powerful. That's how we change lives. If this message resonated with you, if you felt even a flicker of hope, that's your body telling you it's not over. Listen to that voice. Act on it today. In my next video, I'm going to reveal 3 foods that almost every man over 60 eats daily. Foods you've been told are heart healthy, that are secretly destroying your testosterone and draining your energy. One of them is probably in your kitchen right now. Another one is something doctors actively recommend. When you see that list, you'll understand why so many men stay stuck no matter what supplements they take. You could be doing everything else right, but if you're eating these 3 foods, you're sabotaging your own progress. So subscribe now, because you don't want to miss it. Your circulation, your performance, your confidence, they're all connected. And when you get the nutrition right, everything else falls into place. I'm Dr. May Anderson, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, your age does not define your vitality. Your choices do. And today you made the right one.